The scoreboard said the game was over. The clock was bleeding seconds. The crowd was already preparing for disappointment. And the defense was smiling. Not celebrating, not shouting, smiling. Like men who were certain they had already won. Joe Montana saw it. He stood behind the line of scrimmage, helmet on, hands loose, breathing steady. Around him, chaos. Coaches yelling, players waving arms, the stadium shaking under the weight of noise and expectation. This was the moment quarterbacks break. This was the moment mistakes happen. And this was the moment everyone watching assumed the same thing. Joe Montana would be forced to rush. They were wrong, because the most dangerous thing on that field wasn't the blitz being shown at the line. It was the safety who smiled before the snap. Montana's eyes locked onto him almost instantly. 20 yards deep. Weight resting slightly on the back foot. Shoulders relaxed. Too relaxed. That smile didn't belong there. The defense had just revealed pressure. Heavy pressure. Linebackers crept forward. One corner leaned inside, signaling man coverage. The look was aggressive, intimidating, designed to compress time and force panic. The crowd reacted on instinct, a sharp inhale rippling through the stands. Montana didn't react at all. He tilted his head slightly, not to check the sideline, not to scan the crowd, but to confirm something. A detail most quarterbacks would miss in the noise. The safety's feet, square, confident, almost careless. Montana had seen this look before. Not this defense. Not this team. But this belief. The belief that pressure always wins. He stepped into the huddle. 12 men leaned in, expecting urgency, fire, something loud enough to cut through the noise. "We're good," Montana said. "Just that." No rallying speech, no dramatic commands, no visible adjustment. The defense laughed. One of the defensive backs clapped his hands, feeding off the crowd. Another shook his head, grinning. From their perspective, everything was going according to plan. Time was nearly gone. The pressure was coming. And Montana was pretending nothing was wrong. On the sideline, a coach raised his arms sharply. Time out. Montana didn't look. That was the first crack. Most quarterbacks would have hesitated, even a fraction of a second. A glance. A pause. Montana walked to the line anyway. He settled under center as the noise peaked, eyes calm, scanning left to right. He noticed the linebacker inch forward, just a half step too early. He saw the defensive end angle his body inward, hunting for a quick kill. And he saw the safety smile one last time. The ball was snapped. The blitz exploded forward exactly as designed. Fast. Violent. Relentless. Helmets collided. Pads cracked. The pocket began to fold from the edge. For a heartbeat, it looked like the defense was right. Then Montana took one small step back. Not a scramble, not a retreat. A controlled adjustment. That single step changed the geometry of the field. The linebacker lunged and missed, arms wrapping around empty space. The defensive end cut inside, overcommitting, creating a lane that shouldn't exist. And the safety, still reading Montana's eyes, took one step forward. That was all it took. Montana didn't force the throw. He waited. A half-second longer than logic allowed. In that half-second, the defense betrayed itself. The route that appeared sealed before the snap began to breathe. A thin seam opened behind the safety, invisible to everyone except the quarterback, standing calmly inside collapsing chaos. The safety realized it too late. His smile vanished as he tried to recover, hips turning, feet scrambling to regain lost ground. Montana released the ball. It wasn't a bullet. It wasn't desperation. It was precise, measured, almost gentle. The ball arced just long enough to expose the truth. The stadium fell silent before erupting. The receiver caught it in stride, breaking free as the chains moved and the drive stayed alive. The defense stood frozen, hands on hips, disbelief written across their faces. On the sideline, coaches exploded into motion. Players shouted, helmets slammed. Montana jogged back to the huddle like it was an ordinary completion. But nothing about the field was ordinary anymore. The defense lined up again, quieter now. The smiles were gone, replaced by tension, by doubt. They had shown him their best look. They had tried to intimidate him, and he had dismantled it without raising his pulse. As the next play came in, Montana glanced once more at the safety. No confidence this time, just uncertainty. And that was when the defense understood the real problem. They hadn't lost a play. They had been read. And Joe Montana wasn't finished yet. The defense didn't huddle the same way after that play. There was less talking, more pointing, more eye contact. Confidence had been replaced by calculation. They adjusted the coverage, rolled the safety deeper, softened the blitz look just enough to disguise it. This time, they wouldn't give Montana the same picture twice. They thought that was enough. Montana broke the huddle and walked back to the line, expression unchanged. No celebration, no acknowledgement of momentum. If the crowd expected emotion, they didn't get it. What they didn't realize was that Montana had already moved past the last play. Quarterbacks who survive on adrenaline ride momentum. Quarterbacks who survive on understanding ignore it. Montana scanned the defense again. Different look, different pressure angle. Same fear underneath it. The linebacker who had missed him on the previous play was tighter now, shoulders tense. The defensive end was more disciplined, holding his edge. The safety stood deeper. No smile this time, eyes fixed, jaw tight. That told Montana everything. They were thinking now. The ball was snapped. No blitz. That was the trap. The pocket held just long enough to tempt a quick throw, the kind of window quarterbacks are trained to take. Montana didn't. He felt the hesitation behind him. Not footsteps, expectation. The defense wanted him to believe he had time, wanted him to commit early. Montana slid right instead. Not escaping, repositioning. The linebacker flowed with him. The corner stayed home. The safety hesitated, caught between helping underneath and protecting the deep seam. That hesitation cost them 4 yards. Not a big gain. Not a highlight. But it mattered. The chains moved again. The defense regrouped, frustration now visible. Helmets slammed together harder. Voices rose. The clock kept bleeding. They tried something else. Press coverage. Hands on the receivers. Disruption at the line. Force timing issues. Take away Montana's rhythm. The crowd roared in approval. Montana stepped under center, eyes calm, posture relaxed. He didn't look hurried. He didn't look concerned. He looked patient. The snap came. The receivers fought through contact. Roots bent, delayed, stretched. The pocket compressed quickly this time, collapsing inward like a closing fist. Montana climbed it, 1 step forward, 2. A defender reached for his jersey and caught air. Another brushed past his shoulder, missing by inches. Montana didn't flinch. He saw the opening just as it appeared, no more than a breath wide. He released the ball before the receiver finished his break. The pass hit the numbers. First down. The stadium was shaking now. Momentum had fully shifted, but Montana still refused to acknowledge it. He jogged back to the huddle, voice low, steady. The defense was unraveling. They were no longer reacting instinctively. They were guessing. Guessing is fatal. They went back to pressure, this time disguised. Linebackers showing drop, safeties creeping late, ends widening their stance. It was complex, well coached, too complex. Montana noticed something subtle. The corner on the right side glanced inward just before the snap. A habit? A tell. He filed it away. The ball was snapped. The pressure came from the opposite side this time, fast, unanticipated. The pocket collapsed almost immediately. A defender broke through clean, arms reaching. Montana didn't panic. He stepped left and flicked the ball to his outlet before contact arrived. The hit came a fraction of a second later. Hard, clean, unavoidable. Montana got up slowly, brushed himself off. 5-yard gain. Not impressive. Crushing. The defense was exhausted now, not physically, but mentally. Every call felt wrong. Every adjustment created a new weakness. They were chasing answers Montana already had. On the sideline, a defender slammed his helmet into the bench. Another stared at the field, hands on knees, breathing hard. They had thrown everything at him. Nothing stuck. The clock dipped lower. Now the pressure flipped. It wasn't on Montana anymore. It was on them. The next play call came in. Montana broke the huddle and returned to the line. This time, he lingered. Let the defense show itself. Let the safety shift. Let the corner adjust his feet. There it was. The same corner. Same glance inward. Montana didn't change the formation. Didn't audible loudly. He simply tapped his helmet once. The receiver nodded. The snap came. The corner bit exactly as Montana expected, stepping inside to jump the route he thought was coming. The safety rotated late, trying to compensate. Too late. The receiver cut outside. Montana delivered the ball to a spot only one man could reach. Another first down. The defense was broken now. Not beaten. Broken. They stood at the line staring at Montana, knowing the truth, but powerless to stop it. He wasn't reacting to them anymore. He was leading them. And the most dangerous part? The drive still had one play left. The defense was out of ideas. They stood at the line longer than necessary, hands on hips, breathing heavy. No trash talk, no pointing, just silence. The kind that appears when a group realizes they've already lost control but doesn't know exactly when it happened. Joe Montana felt it. Not confidence, clarity. The clock kept draining. The stadium was shaking again, but the noise no longer mattered. At this point, sound was just background. Montana stepped into the huddle one last time. Faces looked back at him, focused, locked in. No speech. He didn't need one.